Okay, we're going to discuss a little bit about keeping your tools in good shape. Got a pair of nippers here. These happen to be Mustads. I've used several brands, but you know, I have a tendency to buy what's the best value, and Mustad's a pretty good value. I've used, you know, Diamond brand. I like Diamond brand, and a lot of guys use GE. They're just a higher quality nipper, you know, than some of the cheaper ones, and you can also buy the cheaper ones if you want. They won't be as durable, and they won't last as long, but if you're only trimming your own horses, you'll probably be fine. Got a right-handed knife here. Got a loop knife that I made myself. Pretty nice, I must say. Works pretty good. But one thing about loop knives, you know, and I've got this bend pretty tight, but it's still not as quite as tight as that is. You know, so getting down deep in along the frog is pretty tricky to do with a knife like this. But this works really good for cleaning out central sulcus and doing other things. So, and I like to have two knives. Even if I was just using two of these, I like to have a right and a left-handed. That's just my preference. Got a couple different sharpening tools here. This is a Smith. It's made by Smith. It's a diamond hone. Good for doing these knives. I find that these don't quite last as long, so I really like this. This is a stone from Norton Industries, I believe, and that you'd have to do some investigating as where to find these type of things. This is another stone, same thing from Norton, medium grit. This is Smith, another Smith diamond, and I use this for my nippers. I don't ever use a file on my nippers. For one thing, you'll find yourself, you'd be way better off to stay after them and keep them sharp, and be careful what you're cutting on. If you don't clean out the white line in horses and they got grit and gravel in there, you grab a hold of your nippers, you hear a little crunching, you better stop. So you're better off to make sure the hoof is clean before you start nipping. Keep nicks out of your nippers, nicks out of your knife, and everything like that. And this is just a chainsaw file. You can use that on these when they get real bad, but like I said, you're better off not to let them get bad in the first place. A pair of glasses for you older folks works good, not being one of those. So what I'm going to do here is with the nippers, you can see how the edge is there. So what I do is just highlight that with a magic marker. I don't know how good this is going to show up on video, and if it doesn't show up good, you let me know and I'll turn it in a different angle. You can see the blue there good? Okay. So, and all it matters is just taking this, get it set up, and I like to use a flat surface like this so I don't change my angle. So I just stroke it a little bit until I start to see that I'm taking off the blue at an even stroke, just like that. And I just keep working it. And like I say, if you don't let it get too bad, you shouldn't have too much trouble with this. And what I want to make sure is I run my fingers back across this way and feel if I got a nice edge on it. You know, where the burr is overlaying a little bit. And then I do the same thing on the other side. On this side. But eventually you're going to have to do something in order to close the gap on your nippers. See, if you look through here, I don't want them mashed tight, but I want them close. So can you see the gap through there? See, and you can see these nippers have been sharpened several times, so you'll start to get a little unevenness in your gap, and you'll have to adjust your sharpening as you do that. But should your gap end up being too big like that or so, or whatever, what you have to do is come in here in this area right here. you'll have to do the same thing. I put a little magic marker on there, and I take a flat file and clean that up. First thing you want to make sure is you don't have any dang dirt in there first. But I come in there and I clean that up, and the magic marker will tell you where you're hitting and where you're not hitting to help you keep it straight. You do it lightly because you don't have to take a lot off of this to close this up. So once you do that, you know, and then you check your gap. And then when it's satisfactory, so that if I put some pressure on that, see, they're just barely touching in one spot and they're close enough in the other. But in time, you know, after you sharpen them several times, these handles will get so close that you'll actually have to heat these handles up with a torch and tweak them back out. And of course there are companies that will actually recondition nippers for you if you need be, but anybody that's halfway good with some hand tools and you know, somebody that's got a set of acetylene torches, and you can tweak these handles back out to where they need to be. And that's pretty much it for that. And I do the same thing with my knife. I take my magic marker, just mark that. And I really like the stone. I like it. These things, I haven't had that good of luck with them. They don't seem to last very long. They work good, but you know, this stone has lasted me a long time, way longer than one of those things has. So same thing here. I just work along, make sure I'm cleaning the whole surface at the same time. And do it, you know, it takes a little bit. I mean, you're going to work hard. If you let these things get really dull, they really need to be super sharp. And I have a tendency to let them get a little bit dull. But the thing is, when you go to sharpen them, you're going to find yourself working a lot harder to get this done. So the better you keep up with your tools, some guys are such fanatics, they touch them up after they ever do a couple of horses, you know, or a few horses. They keep them really touched up, because when these things get dull, you're going to work harder when they get dull, and it's, you know, just not going to cut good. You're going to frustrate yourself. So you let them get too dull, you're going to frustrate yourself and sharpen them. And it's just a matter of keeping a consistent angle on it, so you feel yourself, you know, I got a good sharp edge there. You know, if you run it back this way, you want to feel a little bit of a burr. You can take a flat stone if you want and clean the back side of this up. Take that burr off. Myself, I like to leave the burr there. But that's basically it as far as that goes. You know, I use a little bit of WD-40 to clean up my stones. Make sure, because if, you know, same thing with these things. After you use them a little bit, you see, it gets metal filings in there and it clogs them up. So you need to keep these stones clean. But that's really all there is to it. It takes some consistency and a little bit of practice. You know, a good surface to work on, a vise if need be. Myself, you know, when I'm cleaning these in here, I prefer to set this up in a vise. It makes it much more rigid, you know, because a vise has a lot more grip to it than a stone does. But that's all there is to it. And we'll leave it at that.